The most powerful secret about making great small talk is also the most misunderstood thing about small talk. And that is the fact that small talk does not have to be small. Small talk doesn't have to be small. So what is small talk? You've probably heard people say that they don't like small talk or they hate small talk, or maybe you are one of such persons. What do you mean when you say that? What don't you like? What do you like in place of small talk? What would you call it? What's the alternative of small talk? Or what is the opposite of small talk? Big talk? Cliche, it sounds to me. I believe that we have a misunderstanding about what small talk is. So here's my definition of what small talk is. Small talk to me is nothing more than any form of conversation that you have with anybody, anywhere, where there is no grand agenda. There is no particular objective you are trying to get out of that conversation other than make a great conversation. That to me is what small talk is. You are just trying to be fully present, engage with this person, get to know who they are, connect with them, get to share a little bit about who you are, discover shared interests, shared passions, shared struggles, shared pains, shared desires and dreams. And if the conversation flows, then you keep it going. And if it doesn't, you walk. That to me is small talk. In the second place, small talk to me is also the conversations that we tend to have mostly with new people. People we are meeting for the first time. You go out on a social event, at a networking event, at a conference. You meet people, you are making small talk. Why? Because the ultimate purpose is I want to get to know this person and maybe connect with them if conversation leads us to that place. And if it doesn't, walk. So from my perspective then, it tells me that small talk is not about small. In fact, it's not about any particular thing. It's just the fact that there is no big agenda. You're not trying to sell anything. You're not trying to market anything. You're not trying to persuade. You're just trying to be there, present, and make great conversation. Can you remember the last time you had a conversation with somebody that you did not want to end? That was so difficult to end because it was so good? I'll tell you a story. I go to a Toastmasters meeting and I met somebody there for the first time. And we leave the meeting and I feel like I'll just get out on the road and I find a way to get home as quickly as possible, get a means of transport, right? But we leave and we start talking. And then I talk with this person and walk a distance that if you told me to make a bet that I'll walk that distance at that hour of the night, because this is around 9:30, 10 p.m., I will tell you for what? For why? Like, why would I do that? But we walked the distance. We came and reached a place where we needed to now part ways and go different directions. And we stood at that junction and chatted for maybe 15 more, 20 minutes, 30 more minutes. Why? The intersection of interest aligning when you just met somebody for the first time. And this leads me to talk about how to make great small talk. Don't you want to have conversations like that? Because I believe that there is a deep craving. We have a deep thirst and hunger to make good conversations with people and connect. Because guess what? There's only one way in which we create connections, build intimacy, and get to deepen the bonds with the people we already know. Conversation, talking. There is no other way. So, should we still be calling it small? Now, we take out the small. Let's talk about making great talk with people. Great conversations, really. And think about it. If this is the purpose, like you're talking where there's no ulterior great grand agenda, and that is how we actually create meaningful relationships and connections and intimacy. Shouldn't you be having this type of conversations with your siblings, between you mom and your child, you teacher and your students? Why is it that we only get to talk to our kids when we want to pass information, get information, or do anything specific? Why not talk for the sake of conversation? Because that's the way you get to connect and know them better. So it means that small talk, or talk as I now call it, is something that we all need desperately, and we need to learn how to do it. So let's talk about how to make great talk with anyone, anywhere in the world. I don't care whether you are in India, you are in Asia, you are in America, you are in Europe, you are in Africa. The principles that guide this are the same. So I'll not just tell you about how to do it, like things to do, because I don't want you to feel restricted. My whole purpose of trying to help people develop new abilities or improve the ones they have is for the sake of freedom. It is for the sake of freedom that you are set free, as one great book says. So I don't want to give you rigid structures of say this, ask this type of questions, don't say that, don't do that, don't talk about so topics. No. Let's start with principles, because a very wise friend of mine once told me that principles are universal, but their application is contextual. And if I may tell you about this great friend of mine, he is the future president of Zimbabwe, and I'm sure he is going to see this episode at some point. So shout out to my brother. Listen, principles are universal. Their application is contextual. So principle number 1 to help you make great small talk, great talk with anyone, anywhere in the world. The things that we love the most, the things that we care about the most, are the things that we love to talk about the most. Let that go into your subconscious mind, so that when you engage conversation, you are putting that foot first and center, and you are not wasting time talking about the weather, because no one really cares, right? What do you care about personally? What do you care about a lot? Do you know? And now you can be wondering, so when I meet people, how am I supposed to know what Evelyn cares about? Evelyn, rather, or Jeffrey, or whoever you might meet, or you don't even know the name of this person, right? How do you know what they care about the most? And we still hinge on a principle. At the very deep depth of our humanity, we care about being appreciated. We care about people being interested in who we are, our story, where we come from. We care about this, right? We care about people being interested in what we care about. That's how deep that need sits. So if we have understood that the things that we want to talk about, the things that we care about the most, and then we also know that we care about the things that make us feel appreciated when people take interest in who we are, then why not lead with, I don't know, but since I sat here, I just felt like you are quite an amazing person and I should get to know you, but I don't even know where to start. Can you just tell me about yourself? Right? That might sound an interview-ish kind of question, but how much does that get you interested to talk if someone asked you? I don't know. But one thing I know is you would love someone being interested in knowing who you are, and you would love to be appreciated. You are amazing. There's something interesting about you. Tell me about yourself. So that's a principle. So if you're a parent, how can you apply it? You already care about your child so much. So that's something you love to talk about your child. Why don't you get to know them? Like, what is something that you are doing? Like, I'm out there, I'm having conversation with parents, and I always sometimes just wonder what you are doing that is so interesting, so that I can talk about you because I'm proud of you. I think if you told your child that, they will tell you things that they are interested in that you never could imagine, right? So let's apply that principle. The second one, authenticity. Now, authenticity is a grand thing for me. I believe in it. I love it. And I see it as a form of freedom that no one can buy, but that we all can pull out of ourselves because it's there within us. There is nothing about you that is more charming than your authenticity. Do you know that? You might be beautiful, you might have possessions, you might have things that are charming about you, but what is sustainably charming about any one of us? It is our authenticity, our being true to who we are from the inside out. So, let me tell you about a quote that I read that made a lot of sense for me when it comes to making great conversations, and it's from the book Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. And he says that every conversation you have is an opportunity to risk revealing the real you. So can you take yourself into a conversation and share a little bit about who you are and tell somebody, I'm passionate about things that are not in the line of where I work. And sometimes I just wonder how I can break free from that area. What have you done in that conversation? You've shared about a deep passion and authenticity. You are expressing that you are not even doing the thing that you love the most, but this is the thing you love the most and you don't know how to get out of it. You've started a conversation that might be difficult to stop, right? And this leads me to the next one, which is reciprocity. And reciprocity is the principle that if you want something, give the same away. If you want people to talk about their passions, talk about your passion. If you want people to talk about the things that they believe that are controversial, talk about the things that you believe that are controversial, for instance. Oh, and this actually ties with what I mentioned about the first principle, because one of the things I've heard in a lot of videos that talk about small talk is that you should not touch topics that are controversial. Don't touch those topics because they are sensitive. And I don't believe in not offending somebody. I don't believe in that. And I don't think any thinking person should try to not offend anybody, because I believe the act of being true to yourself and saying what you believe and what you think is going to invariably upset somebody. So, if you are going to talk about the things that you are interested in, as I mentioned in principle 1, but then you also have to worry if you are going to offend somebody. Now you see where you are. You have created a prison for yourself. And I'm saying the whole purpose of doing this is for freedom, for your freedom in expression, in being authentic wherever you are. So give what you want to receive. Don't complain too much if you are out there meeting people. No one likes complainers. No one likes somebody who is going to whine about the things that are negative. Positive energy, if you want it, you give it. If you want someone to smile at you, you smile at them first. If you want someone to give you a compliment, maybe you give them a compliment. I'm not saying do this, I'm saying if you want, right? If you want. So let me detour a little bit because I forgot to mention this, and I think I'll be doing you a disservice if I don't talk about it. And it's on the subject of authenticity. I want to distinguish between authenticity and be yourself, which is a common advice that a lot of us have heard way too many times, and it's a hindrance from my perspective. Be yourself. I think authenticity is about expressing the person you believe you are from the inside out. And that might be different from the person you have expressed all your life up till this moment. And so when people say be yourself, they are saying behave the way you have been behaving. Do what I'm familiar with. This is new, and because you are just starting in it, maybe it's also uncomfortable for you. Imagine that you've not been used to, let's say, stepping out there and then, let's say, singing in public, but you love to sing. And then someday you try it and then you look awkward because you are trying to now bring yourself out there and you look awkward, and then they say be yourself, it's not your thing. but you know from the inside that you have a desire for this and you want to express it. What should you do? Be authentic and true to who you are, who you know you are from the inside out, or conform to what people are familiar with. You decide. So next, let me talk about practical application of these principles, because principles are universal, application is still contextual, but there are a few tips that I want you to take out of this video. And the first one is, I'm afraid this is getting too long, but bear with me. I'm sure that you will learn something amazing at the end of this video. So the first one is breaking the ice when you meet people. This particularly applies when you are meeting new people, especially. I don't know if you have experienced this or if I'm the only one that feels this, but if I walked into this room and there was someone sitting here and I come and sit and not say hello, hey, how are you, and just do a basic breaking the ice, the longer I sit without doing that, the more the barrier to break that ice becomes. So the break the ice practical application is, as soon as you are within talking distance from somebody, if the environment is conducive to say, hey, how are you, go straight for it. Or do what I love to call the off-guard method. And the off-guard method for me simply means you don't even introduce yourself, you just start a conversation. You sit down. I'm so glad I made it on time. I was so afraid I'll be getting here when everything is underway. Yeah, and you start a conversation. The beautiful thing about the off-guard method is that it's starting a conversation with an assumption of friendship. And usually what I've noticed invariably happens is that you almost feel like a friend before you leave that place. So take that also as a tip. If you want to have great conversations with people, approach them and start talking as if they are already a friend. Second tip, right? Let me rush through it because I'm getting exhausted from talking and it's getting too long. Second one, show enthusiasm. When you're talking to somebody and you show enthusiasm for their interest or for who they are or in your appreciation of who they are, you are going to likely get positive reinforcement and get them to talk more and to have a more dynamic flow and exchange of good vibes, good energy, right? Show enthusiasm doesn't mean be bubbly. I say that some people think you need to be excited and over the top, bubbly and kind. No. How do you show enthusiasm in conversation? You repeat something that they have said that you thought is interesting. Oh, so you missed your mom. That's showing interest, enthusiasm. They are almost the same thing. Leaning forward, getting your chair closer to them, bumping with a shoulder when they say something that is kind of funny, reaching out for a high five, tapping somebody on the hand and rubbing a thing. Show enthusiasm means engage with more than one sense. If you are listening, also use your eyes to listen. Also use your body to listen and to interact. Show a little bit of enthusiasm, right? The next one, in showing enthusiasm, use their name. Anthony, that was such an interesting thing that you mentioned. I never thought of it that way. Enthusiasm, okay? Curious observation. You've probably heard that when you want to approach conversation, you should ask questions. And the thing that most people tend to do, and I've been doing this as well, but I'm beginning to learn that there is a better way, is that you now prepare questions before you go out there and meet people. It is good. I recommend it. But even better is what I call curious observation. And this means don't ask questions that you prepared prior. Observe the person, listen to them attentively. Ask questions based on what you have seen and heard. And that could look something like, during the presentation, I noticed you are really into it and you seem to have this sort of so invested energy into what is going on. What is it about the presentation that got you so engaged? You are asking a question based on what you have seen. You already kind of can tell that this person is interested. And so you lead from there, right? You could ask a question like, you have quite a unique bangle there. I've never seen it. Is it from a particular place in the world, or what is the story about it, right? Start a conversation from a place of curious observation. I'm asking a question based on what I've seen. It's on you. So I'm sure it's something that is already interesting. If you are wearing this thing, you must have some kind of connection to it. If not, why you won't wear it, right? So curious observation. I believe if you apply these tips, you are going to have good conversations with people. Your engagement is going to be much better. You're going to have better small talk, if you prefer to call it that way, or great conversations if you want to call it that way. But above everything, I'm so glad that you are here today. Leave a like on this video, please. Subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment down below about the things that you thought are quite useful in your approaching and making conversations, creating better connections, building intimacy, doing the things that we want to do as human beings, which is get closer to other human beings. And with that, I'll not waste more time. It's peace and out.